Lewis. Please welcome them up so we can do a quick Q&A. Well, I love it.
Thanks for being such a great audience. Yeah.
Any questions?
Embarrass Derek. You got an A+ to do that.
Go ahead.
Can I understand why it's taking place in 1982?
Why not?
1982. Okay. Well, the hair and wardrobe and makeup were too hard to resist for starters. Also, to have fun with the VCR concept, which is really important to this film, and also the character of Cesar. You wouldn't, at a college, you wouldn't have just like one openly person out at that time, and that presented issues for the main character. And also, I wanted to have it at a time, 1982, in the middle part of the country. The scourge of what would happen later in the 80s was far from everyone's mind, and so it was like that last moment of nostalgia. Like, I don't think this story could have taken place in 1990, for example, and had the same kind of feeling, in my opinion. So we wanted to. We talked about this a lot, and 82 seemed the best.
Yeah. Exactly what he said.
We filmed this in San Francisco. The dorm rooms were created from scratch in an empty studio by our brilliant art department. Then for the ranch scenes, we went out to the Sierra foothills of California, which mimic the hill country of Texas where the story takes place.
I actually have a question. Your first, most recent works, Rockhaven and Redwoods, were kind of serious. and kind of more like forlorn love and very like deep and personal. And even though I think Longhorns is still very deep and personal, like how come you chose a comedy?
After Redwoods, I said, I've got to do a comedy. I just, they were both deeply personal films, and I hope that when you saw this, or people who, if anyone's familiar with my earlier work, that they still saw an emotional core to this film, because that's just who I am. But I love comedy. We had so much fun doing this. We had a brilliant game cast who were not just funny and did all these outrageous things, but they really brought these characters to life and made us care about them. And so I'm deeply...
Thank you for passing the script right back. I mean, you gave me the script, so I was reading this, and I've seen Redwood. I haven't seen Rockhaven, don't tell David. But it was comedy. And I emailed him the same day after I read it. I was like, this is funny, actually. You did Redwoods, Rockhaven, so it's not something like, comedy. You did it well, so loved it. So thank you for bringing me on board. And Lewis, thank you.
And also, beyond David's mild mannered, he has a really dirty sense of humor. So
clearly, there's a lot of penis.
Yeah, I think David likes that. I don't know.
I'm getting embarrassed. I'm actually really approved. It's just...
If you see Hispanic lady passed out, that is my mother. Just scoop her up and take her to the Sofitel.
Try watching this film with your parents. That's really disturbing.
Yeah, did you have any trouble getting everybody to do full frontal?
And Derek, how did you handle doing full frontal?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Well, actually, I had a short film last year called Little Love that actually made it to the festival, so thank you, you guys, for having us. And Lewis saw the short film and threw my name on the casting, and he was just like, hey, Derek, you're doing this, and I took off his clothes. He did it for a short film. And so, yeah, I'm dead inside.
He must be a great actor.
Clearly. And then, they told me about this, and I was like, you know what, I draw too, so to me it's like nudity is just, I consider it art. Not my penis, but others just nudity.
Well, what is considered art?
So I was okay with it.
And we were very, very specific about how this would be shot. So it wasn't like these actors arrived on the set and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We were very, very specific about how long it would be, how that sounds
There's a joke now.
what would Freud say? But like, and how it would be set, how the shot would be set up, and so I mean, stuff like this is never easy, and so I always stress out because I want the actors to be as comfortable as possible doing these things. But like, we felt pretty good. It was a very this really was. I guess every director says we really had fun, but we really did have fun on this set, and there was really a chemistry among the cast and crew, and I think that helped a great deal, making everyone comfortable. And if you see the outtakes of these films, you can tell these actors are having a lot of fun and stuff.
And also too, when we were doing like for callbacks, you know, it's pretty much like we asked the people who came back if they were comfortable going full frontal. So I remember the whole process when we were in Los Angeles, how nervous I personally was, because we wanted to really create a comfortable environment. So there were times where I was talking about the new Little Mermaid ride at Disneyland, while people are like dropping their pants going, oh, the Little Mermaid ride's showing up, yeah, and has anyone seen a new Julia Roberts maybe? Yeah, penis right there, yeah.
When we were doing the casting, the Casting Society of America said, you must make them drop their drawers in the callbacks. You know, because you can I go, oh my God, I can't do that, I can't, you know, like, so I made the casting director say that. I couldn't say it, but they really said you've got to do that because you'll figure out who's going to be comfortable with this and who's not. And so, and a lot of actors backed out of, you know, that process. So it really, the CSA was right. You know, it's something we had to do. And so we tried to make it in good humor, and you know, casting's always a process. So.
Yeah.
I was curious what you shot the film on, like, a camera format.
What did you shoot it on?
We shot this on the Red camera, and which is the same as like the Social Network was shot on the Red. And so, and my DP owned the Red camera, which was a godsend for a budgeted film like this. And then with all his lenses and stuff. And then we added a lot of filters to, I don't know if y'all noticed, trying to get this machine to look like a 1980s film. I mean, so a lot of detail was put into the art direction and the way this film was shot to enhance the era as much as we could.
He said he really enjoyed it and it's one of the best he's seen so far. Did y'all hear that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. He said he really enjoyed it. It was the best he's seen so far. Yeah.
This was, I mean, because the plan was set, this was in part a coming out film. And it seems like we're seeing less and less of those coming out stories now, fortunately, are becoming less and less, you know, dramatic or traumatic or whatever. What do you see as the future of, you know, coming out stories in movies? Do you think that's something that's going to sort of fade away over time as we get more sensitive or community?
Basically, you know, that there are less and less coming out films. And I think you're enjoying the fact that this kind of was a coming out film, correct?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where do you see like film and queer cinema?
Well, I always look at it regardless of whether, you know, culturally things have become really accepting, but when you're trying to find out who you are in terms of, you know, a person with your sexuality, your likes, your passions, that's always going to be, I think, a compelling story. So there's always room, I think, for any type of coming out story in terms of just finding out who you are. Yeah, I think also one of the benefits of setting it in 1982 is that you can kind of go back a little bit and explore that.
And if you notice this character's arc at the end, there's no big coming out scene where he says, I'm gay. His development as a character is to go, I'm delusional. That's his journey to figure out that how screwed up he is, you know, because like there's usually not just, you know, 5 days later you go, oh, I'm gay, everybody, here we go, you know, like, at least for me it was a process of confusion and, you know, like, and that's kind of, you know, when Cesar for the last time says, I just need to know we're possible, and the character kind of says like, you know, I can't say I'm not fucked up anymore, but then we see him come and he goes, well, it's morning in America and I'm having a lucky day. That he sees the possibilities of what life can offer. And so I didn't want to make a standard coming out, you know, like, you know, where everyone's in the room and he goes, I'm gay or something like that, because I think our journeys are sometimes more complicated. Not always, but like, mine was more complicated than that.
On the other hand, we've gotten really good feedback of the character of Cesar as being a very confident gay character of that time period. And I know I came out when I was 16, and that was early 80s. And so, I mean, in a way, I related a lot to Cesar because, you know, I was growing up in San Francisco and could pretty much lick a lollipop around the corner. So,
I turned the lollipop.
What about yourself?
Oh, I think I came out a little late, even though it's mainstream enough to come out. I came out at 19. I have a Hispanic mother who became religious as I came out. So as I came out, she was like, oh, mijo, oh no, like maybe I didn't have God enough, or, you know, because I was a single parent, maybe that's why you're gay. And I was like, you know, it's not her fault. So I came out pretty late, 19. If I would have actually had the courage to do it, like Cesar, like I probably would have had more sex in high school. And they would have been knocked up, you know, forced abortion. I don't know. I don't know.
How long was the shoot, and what was the hardest part of the shooting schedule?
How long was the shoot, and what was the hardest part of your shooting schedule?
The shoot was 11 days, and that was the hardest part of the shooting schedule. Because it was really, we planned for months and months, you know, before we started this, because we had to get these shots, and period. I mean, there just wasn't, we didn't have the luxury of extending this, and so, and I'm really thankful I had such a great cast and crew, but like, the time, and you know, like, and the makeup, I mean, like, these women were in makeup for 4 hours, and hair, I can't imagine what women went through in the 1980s to get ready to go out or something. It took forever to get the hair just right, you know, so like.
Two questions. First, I would love to know how many young men you convinced to come back to your room for you to sketch. The music was absolutely beautiful and so well paired with the movie. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your partnership with HP, who's been such a frequent guest at the festival also.
Okay, so the first question was
How? What did you say on the sketch? Oh, you're asking.
Men have you been? Oh, I don't. I mean,
for David, when David was in college, was that your pickup line?
Was that your pickup line? I didn't get what the hell he was saying.
I wish I were that clever or could draw, but I did have a student in college who said, I need to take a shower now, and he just like got right in the perfect light and undressed, and you know, like, and no, unfortunately I wasn't. It didn't have that happy ending of like, I was just frightened to, I mean, I was like enjoying the view, but like just, and so that's based on, you know, kind of a true life story. As far as H.P. Mendoza, he's incredible. So like, in the soundtrack, I cannot emphasize enough, you're seeing little snippets of this soundtrack. These are fully realized 80s songs, and so, and he said, well, I'm going to get all these bands to play. And so he was like, I didn't know he was joshing me. I said, HP, we need to get clearance on these. I can't, you know, we have a final cut. And he's going like, oh, I'll talk to him. And then he showed me the credit sequence. And then that's the first time I figured out he had done all of those songs. He had performed all of those songs. I knew he was writing the lyrics. But he had said he was getting other bands to perform, so he would like go, okay, I'm going to be Pet Shop Boys, or I'm going to be something else, or this or that. It completely fooled me. I mean, he literally